Come. This is Nala, and Nala has a couple of guarding sort of issues. We have two dogs in the house that you're going to hear whimpering. Come. Those dogs are out of balance. They are really excitable. They bark, they spaz out a lot. She being a herding breed, it's in her nature to want to, it's in her nature to want to correct out of balance dogs. Now what I'm doing right now is called priming the clicker. So you want to create a classically conditioned response. So what I'm doing is I'm tossing about 10 treats on the ground. Every time she licks it up, I'm clicking at the same time. Now the Guardian did this with her, but it kind of backfired because she held up a treat, and then when the dog took it, she clicked, but it was right in the dog's face. So that's why I put it behind my back. But basically the idea is to do this with about 10 treats, maybe about 2 to 4 times. And after that point, the dog should really enjoy, you hear the click, and then it puts the dog in work mode. And so the click all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm gonna just get a whole bunch of treats. You wanna do it for 1? Well, how about for 2? There you go. All right, so I'm using the chicken liver treats that the Guardians here use. And so you want a high value treat, something the dog is really gonna like and is gonna capture their interest, but make sure it's not too high. If the dog is oblivious to everything but the treats, that's too high a value. We want the dog to want the treat and really appreciate it, but not to be just focused on it. All right, so once we prime the clicker, then what we want to do is we want to kind of create a situation where the dog practices listening to us. Now the click, and re-engaging with us, maybe a better way to put it. The click is to indicate you just did what I wanted you to do. Now the last thing you ever want to do is don't like, it's not a remote control, don't go. That'll actually backfire. It might work in short term, but it'll backfire in the wrong one. The click, I click when the dog does the exact thing that I want. So I'm going to show you here with a sit. Nala, come. We'll prime 1. Evidently you have to have 2. Nala, sit. I can't lean that far, sit. So what you want to do is when the butt hits the ground is when you would click, then you would put the treat in the dog's mouth and say whatever the command word is. And use just a 1-word command. Don't say Nala sit or good sit. Nala. Nala, come. Now Nala's a little bit stressed because the dogs are barking. And that's a little bit of disengagement. Nala, come. Now I'm not her primary handler, so she's going to her primary guardian, which is fine. I'm going to probably end up just talking about this. And what we might do is let's let one of the other ones out, and I'll just demonstrate with the other dog. But you would be doing with Nala. Actually, I would do it with all 3 dogs as well. But by doing it with Nala, you're going to help her. Well, actually, like I'm saying, I would do it with all 3 dogs. All right. So this is Baylee. So what I'm going to do is prime it a little bit. It was like best day ever. Did you catch it in the air? There we go. Now the Guardians, there have been some fights, I don't say fights, but Nala has gone after the little dogs. Now the little dogs are spazzy dogs and they jump up. And then we have a family member who has a baby. So babies that are crying are also stressful. Dogs that are barking and running around are also stressful. Herding breeds are really built and were bred to control situations and prevent things from getting out of hand. So basically, when these guys are going out of balance, that's natural instinct for her to come over and try to correct them. The problem is, if she's really stressed, just like us, if we're overly stressed, that might make me act in a way that's not as appropriate as I would prefer to engage myself. So we'd like to have the dogs working at these things separately. So I'm basically just going to do a little bit of basic training, and then when we go outside, I'm going to demonstrate how we can use this outside. Now I got to put more treats in my pocket because I didn't anticipate priming another dog. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for some sits, some downs, and some comes, and I'm going to reward the dog for doing it. So I'm going to ask the dog to do, I'm going to give the dog the command word. When the dog does the command, I will click, and then I will then put the treat in their mouth and say the command word of the action. So we're going to use, you guys, I'm assuming you're using down for lay down, or crash, or chill. Do you have a word for lay down? Down, okay. All right. Oh, so now you're interested. Sit. Sit. Come. Come. Sit. Sit. Come. Come. Sit. The cuteness is not going to work for me. Well, that's a little bit late, so how about a down? Down? Does you not want to lay on the hardwood? Let's do it on the carpet. Down? Down. Now, when you watch this footage, you're going to notice at first I was paying attention, but look at the attention that I have now. Come. Sit. 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 Okay, so basically what I want you to do is a little bit of this, and we want to do this in the house at first. Out, preferably without that, so maybe put the other two dogs outside so they're not barking, because that'll create some stress. So the idea is, sit. That's more operant conditioning, passive training, that'll work. But for this is you're really telling the dog what I want you to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask for sits, downs, and comes. So I want you to grab about 10 treats and in the house, tell the dog to sit. When it sits, click, then give it a treat, say sit, then walk a couple feet away. Come. Okay. You're a little bit nervous about the clicker, huh? Sit. Sit. So if that's the case, move the clicker behind your back or increase the distance. I just make click from over there. Sit. After a while, if you prime the clicker, they'll like this clicking sound and know what that means. All right, so the other thing we can do, so once we get the dog kind of dialed into us and focused at listening to us, and at this distance, I'm very attractive to the dog. At this distance, I'm not as attracted to the dog, but the dog really likes it, so the dog didn't want to allow that distance and came and followed me. So that's kind of what we want to do is we want to warm the dog up inside. So we do this inside. I guess maybe better in the kennels or maybe put them downstairs or have somebody else take them for a walk. And so then you take one dog outside, do it about 10 sits, downs, and ups, or sits, downs, and comes inside. Then walk outside the door, and right outside the door, come, sit, sit. Walk a couple steps, get to the edge of your deck to ask for another sit. Click, treat. Then go down the steps and start walking around your yard. And once we get in the yard, we're going to actually change it up a little bit. The first 1 or 2 times, sit. Go into the yard and spend about 10 treats in the yard. So ask for a sit, click, give it. Take a couple more steps, ask for a come, click, down. After you've done about 10 of those in the yard, then just kind of just meander around the yard and don't pay attention to the dog. What we want the dog to do is kind of wander off on its own. We want to have the dog practice coming to us. Now, if it's in the zone, it's just, I'm all about the human because they're giving me treats. Oh, the treats have stopped coming? Okay, now I'm going to go sniff where the other dog peed and where the other dogs are at the fence or whatever it is. So wait for the dog to go away. Let's see if I can do it with Nala. Nala, come. Come. That first click was incorrect. So what I would do is now I'm asking the dog to stop what it's doing and come to me. Now, one of the problems the guardians want help with is with the fence. The dogs go and fight at the fence. Well, that's too intense. We have to start, like I talked about earlier, in a very, very easy level, which is what we're doing here. We're asking the dog to sit or come or whatever it is, and when they do, they're rewarded. Nala, come. Nala, come. Guardian sat down. So the guardian here is going to have great success with this because she's going to want to come with you. Problem is, she might almost stay with you as you walk around the yard. So just stand there, stand still, and become boring. Have your phone and just kind of read some emails and just get lost and wait for the dog to lose. And at first, she takes 3 steps away. Ask, Nala, come. And when she comes, she will, for you, click when she gets to you and put the clicker behind your head, or you can snap, and then give her the treat and say come. And then wait for her to disengage and kind of walk around away. And so the idea is we're helping her practice stopping sniffing and coming to the human because I know that something good is going to happen to me. Come. I'm not using the clicker for you because you were already there. So the idea for this is we're creating this situation, helping the dog focus on us. We're helping our practice giving up being interested in something else and coming back and refocusing on the human. So now the neighbors on this side of the house have a couple dogs that like to fence fight, and these guys like to go bark and yell. So what I would do, well, I should ask this question before we do it on camera. Come, passive training helps. So what I would do is if I know the neighbors and I have a good relationship with the neighbors, I'd say, hey, we hired this dog psychologist, he gave us a lesson to do. Would you mind helping us? Now, the first thing I would do is I would have one of you guys walking on the, what I'd probably do is walk on the fence or have somebody up on the fence line and show the dog you have a treat and drop the treat, and the dog runs up there, and the other person who has the clicker is going to be in the yard. And as soon as the dog comes up and is at the fence and gets that treat, and if they go up to the fence on their own, that's great. This is why we would prefer to do it at first when the dogs are not out there, the neighbor dogs. And so basically what we want the dog to do is practice moving away from that fence. If the dog's there, they're not going to want to do that. So we can either have somebody up there giving them treats or dropping treats when the dog's there, or if you're out by yourself and the dog goes to the fence, as soon as it goes to the fence, come, comes to you, click, give it a treat and say come. And then walk to another part of the yard, wait for them to distance. So we want them to practice running away from the fence. Now you might come up with a different word. You could say come, but you might want to come up with another word that means if you run away from the fence, you get a special reward. For that I might use a jackpot. And I'll show you a jackpot is just basically multiple treats. So I'll show you, let's say this is at the fence, and again, this is the neighbor's yard. So I might say, Baylee. Baylee would normally have more enthusiasm. I'd be like, whoops. So I was starting to click when I should be saying the marker. A jackpot is multiple treats in a row. So what we might want to do is maybe the first couple times when the dog's there, when it runs from the fence to us, we might say, come up with another word that means to come to me or run away from the fence. Flee or retreat or something that's funny preferably. And so, and the first couple times you do it, you give the dog 5 treats. You say flee, 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 flee. Bailey's like, what did I just do? Because I just got the mother load of treats. I got to remember that because I want to get those treats again. And there's no competition. So she's very willing to come to you on the, away from the fence. Now, for the first couple of times, and I wouldn't, if you got that kind of response, I wouldn't jackpot. When she comes to you pretty quickly, give her those 5 treats. And the next time, maybe 1 treat. 5 treats we usually do for like a high level, a higher task, or a really good performance. So the idea is once we get to the point where we say whatever the word is, the dog runs away from the fence towards the person. At first we're in the yard, but eventually we'd like to be up here because you guys are going to spend a lot of time on your deck, and the dogs are there, and you want them to come to you. Yeah, you're a little bit nervous too. So eventually, walk around your yard and do maybe have about 20 treats. Wait for aside from the jackpot, so you have 20 practices running away from the fence towards your yard. But you should kind of go this way, go in a loop, and then kind of come back here. So towards the end of it, you're going to get closer and closer to the deck, and then eventually they have to go to the front of the steps, then halfway up the steps, then all the way up the steps, then come all the way to the couch that we were sitting on when we were doing the session. So we're having to practice doing that behavior. And this is a great thing for you guys to do. It's a beautiful time of the year in Nebraska when you're sitting out there. It's COVID, we're not supposed to get out. So you're sitting there, as soon as the dogs are on the fence, come. As soon as they come to you, click, give them that treat, and then let them go back. And this is something you do with all 3 dogs at the same time. Now, I would prefer if you're initially teaching them just 1 dog at a time, but eventually if they're just all farting around out there and there's no reason, every time one of them goes to the fence, come, or come up with a special word that means to run away from the fence, and it comes to you, I would give the first dog who comes, click, and it comes to you and then give it that treat. If all 3 dogs come at the same time, then you can click and give all 3 dogs the treat, but I would pay the leader. So we have the other dogs wanting to do what that first dog does to get the same treat. So this is, at first we want to do this without the other dogs there. Well, once the dogs, we could say whatever the word is, and they come to us right away, and they're like running to us, not what Baylee was doing before, but coming with vigor. Well, the next stage, we would like to raise the criteria. I would talk to my neighbor and say, look, the dog psychologist we talked to said we need to practice having our dogs practice running away from the fence when your dogs are out there. But if their dogs are at the fence line, or if they're running around or barking, that's going to make it really hard for them to perform. So what I would do is the fence is here. I would have us up here, and I have your neighbor on the far side of their fence with their dog on a leash. So the dog's not barking and saying anything, but your dogs can see it. And then we help them practice coming towards us when the dog is stationary on the other side of the fence. And then once the dogs are coming pretty consistently, you don't have to call them multiple times, and you shouldn't be calling multiple times. Then I would have them walking on that side of the fence, up and down the fence, and when the dogs are watching, and then you say come, or whatever your special word is, they run away from that dog. So we're helping them practice at first when the dogs are not there, then when the dogs are there stationary, then the dogs are moving but slowly and as far away as possible. Then you have them moving a little faster and faster, and eventually you have them come a little bit closer and a little bit closer, and this might take several practice iterations. When you're doing it with the other dogs out there, I would not have all 3 dogs. I would only have 1 dog at a time, and I would set them up for success by exercising them first, so you take that extra vigor out. And you saw, like we talked about there, if the dogs are running around and animated, they're just going to be crazy. And 1 dog of your dogs is going to make all your dogs go crazy. So if we do it with 1 dog at a time and that dog's not crazy, they're practicing being in control, they're practicing listening to you, they're practicing moving away from the fence. And gradually, eventually, it gets to the point where that dog can be going up and down the fence, and your dog's be there, and you can call them, and they will come to you. Now, don't expect this overnight. I'd like you to practice this with each dog for maybe, I would say, about 5 treats. At first, 10 treats inside, but after you've done this a couple times, maybe just 2 or 3 treats inside to kind of warm them up. Then about 20 treats walking the circuit in the yard. And I'd like you to do it with each dog at least once a day. But it'd be nice if you do it with each dog twice a day. And I would do it 1 dog at a time, bring that dog in, put it in the kennel, exercise that dog. I would be efficient. I would probably do Stairmaster or fetch with one of them, then put it in the kennel. Take the next dog out, fetch it, put it in the kennel, take the 3rd dog out, fetch it. Then I grab the 1st dog, who at this point should be calm. We got a bee. That doesn't look like a bee.
That's one of those wasps.
It is. It didn't have the legs behind it. Well, I'm going to leave that for the guardians. I'm not an exterminator. But basically, the idea is we've helped the dog practice coming to us under various levels of difficulty and making it rewardable. Now, if we do that in concert with also getting more exercise, petting with a purpose, passive training, all the rest of that stuff, they start seeing us acting like leaders because we're enforcing rules, and we've helped them practice listening to us. That's a dead bee. So, there we go. Crunch. No? Baylee, I don't think you're going to want to eat that bee. That's not going to be a good experience for you. All right, so, but again, if you get in that rhythm where you exercise 1, exercise 2nd, exercise 3rd, by the time you go get the 3rd one, now it's had that chance to recover. Then you take it outside and do that exercise, bring it back inside, put it in the kennel, grab the 2nd dog, 3rd dog. Once you get all 3 dogs, when you get the dogs where their dog can be out running around the yard, then that would be the next stage. You would have 1 dog out there. When their dog's running around the yard, you're calling your dogs towards it. Now, if the dog is too much, then have them having their dog running on the side of the yard, on that side of the yard, and have them have some treats. So the dog's more interested in them than barking at your dogs. But we want to gradually raise that level of intensity until eventually the dogs are like, coming to the humans is a good thing. Barking at the other dogs doesn't get me anything. Come, sit, sit. How about we come over here, Baylee? Yes. Oh, you found the treat that I dropped there earlier, huh? Come. Doesn't want to do it. All right, so now if they don't want to do it, and especially if like the other dog's around and your dog's intentionally looking around or sniffing the ground, those are called displacement behaviors. That's when the dog's really saying, I'm overwhelmed, I can't listen to you because I'm stressed out, this dog over there. Don't keep forcing or calling your dog, because your dog is just trying to get through the situation and compensate as best they can. If you get upset that they're not listening to you, we get frustrated, we add stress and anxiety, and we're adding a whole bunch of other stuff that doesn't need to be involved in this equation. So if you ever get the dog where it disengages, take note of your environment. Is there something that we can do to help the dog feel a little bit more comfortable, increase the distance, or remove the other stimulus? And you can go ahead and let her go. You can let her out. Yeah, we're done with this anyways.
Well, she's adding to the...
Yes, but that's a good example. If the dog's in the back there barking, that's going to cause the other dogs to be stressed. If the baby comes over here and the baby's crying, that's going to add some stress. You're already worried that something might happen. That's even more stress. And you're just almost creating a recipe for the dog to want to...
Okay,
come.
she's done barking now.
Yes.
Come out.
But again, and so the stress level, the barking and anxiety come, is, and remember, if she won't take a treat, any of them won't take a treat, or if they won't sit down, that's their indication I'm overwhelmed, I'm overstressed. You find out where the treats are. Sit. Yes, that was high for you. Okay, let's try it again. Sit. So these two are a little bit nervous. This will help with that. You're in school. Our cameraman is also in school. When you learn new tricks in command, I think, when you learn new tricks or skills, you feel better about yourself. You achieved a different level of proficiency or a new skill or whatever it is. That helps with our self-esteem. Dogs that are often the most reactive are insecure. So if we can teach these dogs, sit. Oh, so that was not the best placement. So again, click when they butt hits the ground and then give them a treat and say that. And it might be pretty quickly. Let's see if we can do that again. Sit. Sit. There you go. All right, so building up their confidence through some basic training will go a long way toward helping it. And the clicker you can use for a whole bunch of things. You can teach them to go to the dog bed, grab a specific toy, whatever it is. The click means you did exactly what I wanted. So I'd like you to kind of practice this, like I said, with 10 treats in the 10 to 20 treats in the loop of the yard for each dog at least once a day. It'd be nice if each one of you could do it once a day. That way the dog can practice to listen to you, listen to you, listen to you. We have to help them practice, otherwise they won't be able to do it. So practice that. If you have questions on that, let me know. But in the meantime, also pick some. You said she's pretty smart. She likes to pick up on new tricks and commands. Set a goal. you know, this week mom's going to teach a new trick. And you teach all the dogs separately, and then maybe it's bang, you're dead. You want to go outside, bang, you're dead. As soon as it flaps over, then you open the door. You want your food, bang, you're dead. Flaps down, then I put the food down. So at the end of the week, you go bang, and the dog's like, I'm dead. And now we've achieved a new skill. Then the next week, you go to YouTube and find maybe roll over now. And so to do everything, they have to roll over. So if you can get your dogs to have at least 10 to 15 commands, there's a certain level of confidence that seems to kick in for most dogs. So ask yourself how many tricks and commands the dogs know. And they're both cute dogs, but we can only get by on our looks. I mean, once I turn 30, my looks went to... So I have to have a good personality. So we want the dogs to have a good skill set. And that's going to increase their self-esteem and confidence, help them see you acting like a leader, respect you as a leader. And we also help them practice running away from those other dogs and practicing the behavior that we want. Right now, I bark at the fence and we get yelled at. Well, that's validating for me. The only validation I get is by moving away from the fence. All right, well, this is Baylee. That little one was Mia. And then we have Nala. Well, I kept on saying Naya. And I'm wearing red because it's Friday. We got to appreciate our first responders and people who work in the medical field to keep the rest of us safe during COVID. All right, I'm David, and those are the dogs. And these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that doesn't listen to you in certain situations or likes to fence fight.